Hello, everybody, and welcome to the third annual Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce Champions of Change Awards reception and first live virtual awards event presented by Vectra Bank. I am Micaiah White with TBS4. I'm so glad to be here with you this evening. And this year you get to enjoy the event from your home in your yoga pants, your feet up. How nice is that? It's also my first event that I'm emceeing, so please bear with me here. So, virtually rather. Okay, so tonight and my laptop is trying to slide off my desk here. Okay, here we go. Gotta love it. So tonight we are thrilled to celebrate and honor 6 companies and 1 individual that are truly making a difference for women in business in Colorado. These are organizations that have made it a priority to increase diversity, provide family-friendly benefits, address wage gap and pay equity, make it an integral part of their strategy to encourage more women in leadership positions, create allyship for diverse and underrepresented communities, and they've developed a pipeline for emerging female leaders. They represent different industries and sectors, but they all range from large corporations to small but mighty nonprofits, but all believe that it makes good business sense to invest in diversity, ensure equity, and put programs in place to attract the top talent in our community. We also recognize an individual who's a champion of all of these issues as a dynamic and visionary leader. Tonight, we will learn more about what makes them a champion of change, like what it means to invest in their people, creating solutions to a leaky pipeline, reaching 50% gender parity in executive leadership in the financial industry, ensuring women in our communities have access across the globe to equal opportunities and pay, developing innovative programs for women that support all areas of their work from mentorship, maternity leave, and advancement, putting Denver on the map with the international dance and arts community, and paving the way for women behind you to ensure that they aren't just surviving, but they are thriving. And tonight we are mixing things up. We still have our award ceremony with videos highlighting some of the great work these organizations and people are doing. Following that, we're honored to have our 2019 individual champion, Bruce Alexander of Vectra Bank, host a discussion with this year's winners. And this will allow us to have a deeper look at what these organizations do, and our individual champion are going to pave the way for women in business. So make sure you stay on for that interactive conversation. So I hope we can all learn from one another and discover ideas and initiatives that we can bring back to our organizations and communities. This would not be possible without the support of our generous sponsors. Thank you all. Thank you to our presenting sponsor, Vectra Bank. Visionary and elite members who make a commitment to positive change every day as members of the CWCC. All right, before we hear from our sponsor, I want to go over a few things here. I know this event is virtual, but I still encourage you to give a shout out to our winners on social media. We are trying to create a workforce movement here, everybody. So please tweet or post about at least one thing you learned about tonight and what you'd like to see as a common practice in all organizations. We want to show the world how simple it is to implement initiatives that help level the playing field for everyone. Don't forget to use the hashtag Champions of Change, and be sure to tag the Women's Chamber at CO Women's Chamber. Okay, now I'd like to introduce our sponsor, Vectra Bank. Please welcome Heather White, Community Banking Director and Executive Vice President.
Well, welcome and hello, everybody. It's great to be here, and we definitely are excited. So it's definitely a pleasure to join you today for this year's Champions of Change Virtual Awards event, first ever. Vectra Bank is proud to be the presenting sponsor this year, and as a Colorado Women's Chamber board member myself, I'm very honored to be a part of the event. While 2020 was a difficult year for many reasons, it was also a pivotal year in inspiring change, not just for women in business, but for all diverse communities. Over the past year, Vectra Bank has committed to defining and enacting a corporate social responsibility plan This plan supports Vectra Bank's mission, a mission where we are big enough to count, yet small enough to care. As being part of Zions Bank Corporation, we have access to the resources of a large bank, but the ability to make decisions locally. I believe a great example of this was helping our local businesses with so many SBA, PPP loans back in April through the summer, and now again just this week. One of the CSR's plan's main principles is employee impact, which includes diversity and inclusion goals and workplace development for all employees. Vectra Women is one of these diversity groups, which seeks to provide a platform to support women professionally and personally while fostering awareness of women's issues amongst other resource groups and demographics. We currently have 92 members consisting of both female and male employees. We all understand women alone can't be responsible for the change needed. We need our male colleagues to champion this with us. I'm proud to say that 64% of Vectra Bank employees are women and 64% are in leadership roles within the bank. We plan to continue to provide opportunities for women at Vectra Bank and are very excited to hear more tonight from this year's Champions of Change on what they've done to create such change within their companies and communities. Congratulations to all the winners and a sincere thank you for all you've done to truly be champions of change. We hope you enjoy the event.
All right, thank you so much, Heather, and thank you to Vectra Bank for sponsoring this event. This event and the mission of the CWCC would not be possible without the support of you and all of our sponsors, so thank you so much. All right, let's get right to it. It's time now to honor the 2021 Colorado Women's Chamber Champions of Change Award winners. This year, we'll have 3 videos showcasing our Champions of Change. In our first video, we're going to hear from our industry trailblazers, corporate change maker, and innovation recipients. But what makes these organizations winners in their respective categories? So Empower Retirement truly is an industry trailblazer. They're breaking glass ceilings and raising the bar in the financial and retirement space. They saw opportunities to get creative in how they challenge industry standards and create new ones that better support the advancement of women in business. Through their efforts, they are blazing trails in their industry for others to follow. And Brownstein, Hyatt, Farber, Schreck recognizes the importance and need to innovate as an organization in an industry that really isn't known for innovation. They've taken their efforts to the next level by creating innovative solutions and programs that develop employees, support their needs, and advance women in business. What they've created for their people is out of the box and industry changing. And VF Corporation and the VF Foundation are the definition of corporate change makers. They're the example that even with locations across the country and globe with thousands of employees, it's possible to give them the development opportunities and benefits that support all of their needs and advancement. So let's learn more about these champions.
So the VF Foundation is the global philanthropic grant-making arm of VF, and we're looking to be a thought leader and solve issues that are intimately tied to our business and our communities. We know that when we invest in women and we tackle issues that are important to women, they can bring their whole selves to work and really reach their full potential.
At Empower Retirement, the way we sort of integrate and activate women into their roles is by first listening, right? That's like the first step. We have to listen to our people.
The relationships that they've built matter, and that they matter to us when things get hard, that we're there for them.
It's important to us to be able to create an environment where women feel safe, to be able to learn from each other, be able to grow together, and provide opportunities for mentorship and sponsorship as they continue on their journey to grow within our organization.
We realize at Empower we can't do this alone, so we partner with external entities to really support the development of our people and also just give them access to additional resources. So some examples include women in pension networks, right, where it allows our women to network with other women in the retirement savings space.
I founded the Women's Leadership Initiative in 2014, our firm-wide initiative, and we began by focusing on building women's connectivity. And then once we developed that better, deeper dynamic, we started to really make more concrete goals and change around elevation, promotion, and driving women into leadership opportunities.
Woven is our network of employee resource groups that are committed to advancing women within our organization. It provides that opportunity for women to come together, learn from each other, grow together, and be able to advance their careers collectively through allyship and support.
We decided that we wanted to be industry leaders when it came to parental leave. So we created this umbrella of called Transitions Matter. He created this ramp up, ramp down program for the 6 months surrounding your leave. And so you can take a gradual ramp down and a gradual ramp back up when you come back in a way that doesn't impact your bonus or your elevation.
People are more familiar, it's called the glass ceiling, but there's also something called the broken rung. And that's typically for women. Becoming a people manager is the broken rung and that place where they're not making it enough to be promoted and to advance their career. But we realize that there's a need, if we're going to address equity, to provide women with additional trainings and skill sets so they can advance and they can move within our organization.
Our women continue to appreciate and articulate their appreciation, feeling heard and feeling valued. It's truly the reason we do this. And I know our firm is so proud of all of our women.
One way that we have to continue to forge forward in this space around gender diversity is by doing more research. And so Empower Institute is the research arm of our organization that really is trying to help us understand the latest and greatest trends and some of the best practices.
50% of our workforce are women, and equally important, over 85% of our apparel workers around the world are women. And being able to empower them with financial literacy tools as well as education around healthcare, letting them understand their rights, and how we can also provide opportunities for them to continue to develop and grow into leadership positions within these factory communities is incredibly important to us. When we're working to solve issues that are important to women, they will show up in the workplace as their whole selves, fully actualized, and reach their full potential and have the opportunity to grow and thrive within our organization. And when women thrive, our communities thrive, our businesses thrive, and our world thrives.
Promoting and elevating and our women and diversifying our leadership and our management isn't just the right thing to do, it's actually makes good business sense.
The work doesn't stop, right? Like it's a signal that we're on the right track and let's continue. And I think it's about not being satisfied with the status quo.
VF being recognized as a champion of change is such an honor, and it's an important reminder of the shared responsibility that we all have to ensure that we're advancing women.
So I have 2 actual daughters, but that all of this is really like my 3rd daughter, and this is a personal point of pride that we're able to win this award.
The first thing that comes to my mind when I think of a champion is like an Olympian, right? Someone who is strong, someone who inspires, who encourages others. There are also people who don't settle for less, who keep going, who persist, and who endure to the end, and that's what we kind of endeavor to be.
And we hope that our actions and future actions inspire others to join us to solve some of these deep issues and work with us to be able to advance inclusivity for all within our communities and within our world.
And a big congratulations to Empower Retirement, Brownstein, Hyatt, Farber, Schreck, and the VF Corporation and the VF Foundation. Big round of applause for them. Very impressed already by these organizations and what they're doing for women in business, which supports the greater good of all of their employees. And so inspired to hear from all of these incredible women, these men who are allies to these women. Thank you all for your dedication and passion. It's so apparent just listening to all of you talk. Gloria said something key. She said, when women thrive, we all thrive, our communities thrive. So this is a huge investment and something that we all take a lot of pride in. So thank you all. So next we have our small but mighty social impact and mission-minded winners. STEMBlazers have proven the meaning of small but mighty. They're an example that no matter the size of an organization, it's the impact you create, not just internally, but in their industries and for the people they serve. They've proven that despite the size of an organization, flexible work environments, out-of-the-box structures, and prioritizing opportunities for those in the community, you can make a difference. And Cleo Parker Robinson Dance has had quite the social impact here in the Denver community and beyond. Our social impact category recognizes businesses whose core purpose is to create meaningful change to systems and cultures. They are working hard to help shape inclusive and diverse work and play, of course, in environments that challenge the status quo. Cleo Parker Robinson Dance has done just that. And our next award category is mission-minded. HealthONE is being recognized in this category because they prioritize the strategic advancement and support of women in their organizations and in the communities where they reside. They believe that in order for people to succeed, we need to lift others up around us as well, so much so that it's woven into the thread of their business. So let's learn more about our small but mighty social impact and mission-minded winners.
I think it's so important to open the pipeline to young women in STEM industries because they're outpacing any other industry and jobs. Technology is in everything that we do every single day, from things that we have, our cars, our houses, our phones, our computers. It's woven into everything that we do. My goal for STEMBlazers is to get more women, young women, to think about a career in like software engineering and technology. There's so much talent, so many great minds out there, and it's just showing them that there is a possibility and that it's attainable.
I think what sets HealthONE apart in terms of developing women and men as leaders has to do with that concept of unlocking possibilities. Everyone is seen as someone who has something significant to contribute.
It was very important that we created that space for anyone who really wanted to pursue the arts, wanted to pursue becoming a dancer, but not necessarily just becoming a dancer, but being in an environment that really uplifted them as who they were. And I think that was very important to create a village. And that's what I call the Cleo Parker Robinson Dance is a village.
So STEMBlazers is structured as an after-school enrichment program. So we work with teachers, educators, we work with professionals who are working in STEM careers, and we establish an after-school club chapter at middle school and high school level, and we invite STEM professionals to come in as guest speakers to share their story, talk about their career, have interactive conversations, do hands-on activities, and really help try to make that career connection for these young ladies. I want there to be more women and more diversity in the future STEM workforce.
We're led by a woman, Sylvia Young, who is the president and CEO for the Continental Division. The leadership development work at HealthONE is not segmented by gender, and I think that's, in my view, a good thing. So in other words, everybody has the same opportunities. It's clearly working that women feel that they have what they need to advance. In our 11,000 colleagues, 72% are women. Of our directors and above, 73% are women.
STEMBlazers was born out of my own personal experience. Working as a mechanical engineer here in Colorado for 20 years, I was maybe one of a handful of female engineers in the office where I worked, and a small percentage of the women overall in the industry. Girls, even 20, 30 years later, we're still very small percentage represented in the enrichment programs and engaging in STEM opportunities. And so from there, something inside me ignited. If I could be a mechanical engineer and be successful at this, then I had to be able to share that with the next generation and inspire and empower them to pursue a career. We do continue to support and encourage, even after high school through higher ed, those women professionals who are part of our STEMBlazers community. When you do help one woman, it is a community of women, and it's a win for all of us.
Well, I think it was to serve our community and broaden our community in terms of making the arts accessible to everyone of all ages, all backgrounds, all economic backgrounds, and all cultures and all races. DREAM is an educational program for young people that has them learn skills that they can do technology in the theater and in their own schools so that they can enhance their own ability. It is art and technology together, and it's bringing those two disciplines together in the most magical way.
We very much appreciate what the Women's Chamber is doing and how the Women's Chamber is lifting up the conversation about pay equity and the conversation about access to leadership positions. And we're a big fan of the Women's Chamber.
And so I think to know that we've been chosen means to say that the Women's Chamber has that value, and it makes my heart happy. And I thank you.
The culture of STEMBlazers is about women supporting each other. It is not about one person, it is about all of us. When we can empower these girls to go find their place in the world, I just think that, I mean, how can you not win?
There you go. Michaela, you're muted. Oh boy, okay, here we go. Okay, working through the kinks here. Okay, so definitely some more congratulations in order for STEMBlazers, Cleo Parker Robinson Dance, hi Cleo, and HealthONE.
Exciting always, huh?
Absolutely. And health and STEM careers more crucial than ever right now. The need for passion and science with everything going on with the pandemic. Of course, arts are essential too. Truly inspirational the way that Cleo Parker Robinson has made dance accessible to everybody, and we all need that. We need that lightness right now. I feel like we need the arts. You know, they're so crucial, so essential. The bar is being raised with each video, so let's close out our award ceremony with our individual Champion of Change Award. We are pleased to honor Sarah Miller, Wealth Management Advisor with Northwestern Mutual. Sarah is being recognized for her hard work and determination to make real change for women in the financial industry, which is of course, heavily male-dominated industry. She is creating opportunities to make this field more accessible to women and supportive of women to keep them there for years to come. So keep your eye on her. She is a woman to watch. Let's learn more about Sarah.
You know what makes women thrive is our communities. Every single time I look at what makes a woman successful, it's like, well, there's my girls, and there's my supporters, and there's my allies, and there's the person who pushed me. And just to do life in the same sphere, I truly believe is the key for women to thrive when they're in the trenches, doing life, doing all the different things with other women.
Sarah's someone that once you get to know her, you just want to be around her. She's very charismatic, very energetic, but also very genuine. And she just really started to become an inspiration to me, a motivation really to not just talk the talk, but to walk the walk.
This is not an easy business, especially as a female. There's very few of us. There were less resources than there are now. When I started, female advisors at Northwestern Mutual was about 10% of the field force. My mission has really been, how do we attract more female financial advisors, but also once we attract them, what does it take in our culture for them to stay? And I don't mean survival, I mean thriving.
She's really helping women in this industry to have better work-life balance and a better approach to how they actually tackle their work.
We now have a very robust maternity leave program, which in a commission-only business is very rare. We now have a field advocacy group that advocates for us female advisors for the home office. That's a 501c3. I mean, there's just so much that has changed that I'm so proud to be a part of.
I actually meet quite a few people that when they say, oh, you know Sarah Miller, that it's almost a badge of pride. She helps people just become a better version of themselves.
To be given this title of Individual Champion of Change is such a amazing honor. I mean, it's very humbling because it means that people are seeing what you believe in and are honoring what you believe in. And so I think my vocation part of this is to really pave a road for other women to be able to go down. If I have to hack some weeds, I'm happy to do that. But I just want there to be, I guess, my legacy for the women behind me, for them to have the rope to get on that paved road.
And I know that women are oftentimes so reserved with being self-promotional and self-promoting, and sometimes we just deserve for our stories to be told, and hers was certainly worth telling.
And I'm muted once again. Okay, sorry everybody. Sarah, you are incredible. Thank you for everything you're doing for our community, and congratulations again to the 2021 Champions of Change winners. You can applaud at home. That's Brownstein, Hyatt, Farber, Schreck, Cleo, Parker, Robinson Dance, Empower Retirement, HealthONE, STEMBlazers, VF Corporation, and the VF Foundation, and to Sarah Miller with Northwestern Mutual. All right. And shout out to One Floor Up for putting together these incredible videos that you just saw. The fun doesn't stop here, ladies and gentlemen. We are going to go deeper into what makes these organizations champions of change. Now, remember, I told you to take notes earlier. Use this as a learning opportunity. Grab that pen and paper again. And we are going to introduce our facilitator and our panel. This is the president and CEO of the Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce, Kristen Blessman.
Yay! Thank you so much, everyone. I'm always so inspired by this event. It's incredible. And the organizations that we just saw are really incredible, right? But I do have to admit, when I woke up this morning, I really had a little bit of sadness. I guess I'd be lying if I didn't tell you all that I thought to myself, God, I hate doing this event virtually. There's so many challenges with this. And if you've been to Women's Chambers events in person before, you know what I'm talking about when you feel the energy in the room. But then I stopped myself and I remembered why we do this event. And it's to witness change happening and to advocate for more change, to learn from one another, to learn how to create change, and then to celebrate, right? And I think the first three we're going to do here today, right? And the celebration you can all do at home, and I know that I'm going to do it too. So until we can get back together in person and drink wine and champagne together, let's learn. Let's learn for one another, and let's advocate for some positive change. That really sounds good to me right now. I don't know about you, but given our landscape, I want to celebrate and learn from one another. So when I was thinking about this, and I was thinking about the innovation that we all just saw take place in those videos and the social change that's being created, I just did a quick Google search. And I looked up what are some innovations and inventions that have happened in the past that were truly like life-changing, world-changing. And of course, the internet came up, and I know what life was like. I'm old enough to know what life was like before the internet, and I can tell you the internet is splendid because going to encyclopedias for data totally sucks. The wheel was something that came up as an incredible invention. Electricity, and I can tell you with nothing else to do during COVID, I spent a summer camping. Electricity is really life-changing and amazing, and the list goes on. But the one thing that I couldn't find very many of were innovations that created social change, right? Social innovations, meaning innovative ideas to solve gender bias, end apartheid, eradicate poverty. And what I found out, you know, and things that popped up weren't necessarily inventions, but they were human beings. So human beings like Nelson Mandela or the Dalai Lama that have a vision for something better or a different approach, trying something new, just listening. That's what creates true innovation and social change. So as you just witnessed, it's incredible human beings and organizations that fight every single day for social change. The energy is what keeps us on the path to create equitable workplaces where women have every opportunity to succeed. They're using what they know to be true about success in business to create social change. And when I think about the landscape that we're living in today, it gives me hope. It gives me hope to think about the fact that there's human beings out there that are creating social change. And events at CWCC aren't just an event, and it's why I think that it's still important that we do these digitally. They're meant to beat the drum for what matters and for us all to learn from one another and be inspired to create social change ourselves. So with all of that, that made me feel better about doing this event digitally this evening. So let's move on to the learning part. Let's learn with one another today. And speaking of human beings that spark change, one of the human beings I think of that has made such an incredible impact on their organization and on so many women in our community, including me, I think of Bruce Alexander. And I know that there's no one in the community that would argue with me on that. He's truly one of our community's most monumental leaders, advocates, and allies for women's advancement and the women's advancement movement. Bruce's ability to have a vision for something great that no one has ever seen is truly inspiring. He doesn't just do it for his organization, but he does it for each and every woman that he impacts. I remember the first time that I met Bruce, he came up to me and he said, "You're an incredible leader. I want to get to know you." And just hearing that from someone of a leader of Bruce's caliber changed me and inspired me to want to do more. So we're so fortunate to have him with us facilitating today's conversation so we can all learn from one another. So let's first welcome him, last year's individual champion of change and your facilitator for today's discussion, Bruce Alexander, President and CEO of Vector Bank. We also have with us Ali Metzel, shareholder, Brownstein, Hyatt, Farber, and Schreck. Maureen McDonald, Assistant Vice President, Community Engagement for HealthONE. Jason Clark, Senior Manager, Diversity, Inclusion, and Campus Relations for Empower Retirement. Gloria Schock, Executive Director of the VF Foundation and Director of Global Impact for VF Corporation. Cleo Parker Robinson with Cleo Parker Robinson Dance. Wendy Merchant, Founder and Executive Director of STEMBlazers. And Sarah Miller, Wealth Management Advisor, Northwestern Mutual. Thank you all so much for being here, and I'll turn it over to you, Bruce.
Thank you so much, Kristen. What an honor it is to be here tonight, and thank you very much for your kind words. I truly appreciate them. This has really been a fun thing for me to be a part of, not only being an awardee in the past. I have my trophy up there on my wall, but just what I've learned from connecting with our winners tonight, and they're really all worthy and inspiring. And when you get to meet them in person, they're even cooler than what you saw on the video. So we're going to have a conversation tonight. I'm going to ask each one of our winners a question or two. I hope that if they have something they want to add, they'll raise their hand and jump in and make a comment or connect with each other. I think tonight's supposed to be fun and interactive, and so we're going to do our very best to do that. And I didn't tell anybody who was going to go first. So Allie, you have 5 seconds to be ready for your first question. I'm going to ask you to go first. Brownstein Hyatt won in the category of innovation and innovative strategies. And I was really taken by some of the programs. You mentioned transitions in the video, but you do 2 other things. One you stole from somebody else and one you innovated on your own. But tell us a little bit about the Mansfield Pledge and then about Brownstein Buddies and the impact that those things have had in your firm.
Sure. Well, welcome everybody, and thank you again to CWCC for this honor. As a lawyer, I just want to clarify, we didn't steal anything. But I will say, so with regards to Mansfield Pledge, we were lucky enough to participate in the pilot program for the Mansfield Pledge, which for those not in the legal industry, it's effectively the Rooney Rule for the legal industry. And what that means is, it requires that we have a certain percentage, 30% of the pools of folks who are in consideration for leadership opportunities, lateral partner hires, and equity shareholder promotions. 30% of the pool of folks in consideration for those positions must be diverse. And what the Mansfield Pledge has done for us is allowed us to take an enterprise-wide approach to diversifying our leadership and our partnership ranks. And so it's been an incredible tool for us to have every part of our organization driving towards achievement of our lofty strategic planning goals when it comes to gender diversity. And it's allowed folks to take ownership of achieving those goals, on their own, in their own pursuit of our enterprise-wide goals. So that's Mansfield, and it's had incredible results for us. We have now reached the highest level of female equity shareholder percentage that we've ever had in our firm. We are number 2 in percentages based on the AmLaw 200 law firm. So it's been an incredible tool for us to achieve kind of the high watermark for us. And then I think you mentioned Brownstein Buddies, which is a program that evolved in the moment, right? We all have spent the past 10 months feeling disconnected from each other, not able to access our offices or be together, and not able to provide the kind of resources that we ordinarily would if we were physically in the office. So we thought to ourselves, what could we do to bring our folks together, to recognize also that there were unique challenges that faced women, both as professionals and as primary caregivers and homeschool teachers that they had never faced before. And so what we did was we brought together a series of programs for the summer. There was cooking, there was crafts projects, there was somebody did a gaming, teach kids how to code and game. So our older kiddos were working with the younger kiddos to provide content and support that would free up their parents to get some work done during the day. And it's transitioned into something really wonderful now that we're still remote, but kids are somewhat back in school. And we're going to continue to iterate on that as we potentially move back into the office in this year.
Those are both such great examples, and it's really neat to hear the impact that the Mansfield Pledge had on the way you run your organization. Brownstein has such an incredible reputation in our community. You've just added so much value, and so it's wonderful to see those kind of innovative programs. I do have to ask you, though, before you mute yourself again, Was it hard to get buy-in from the shareholders for innovative programs like that? I know you were one of the leaders in making that happen. What kind of advice would you have for our guests tonight about what kind of courage it took for you to help make those things happen with a bunch of lawyers?
Well, I would say from the beginning, we are incredibly lucky to have founders who are creative problem solvers, right? Norm and Steve and Jack Farber, that's their legacy. And so as a result, our management, there was never any hesitation. There was a clear desire to be a leader when it came to gender diversity and diversity generally, frankly, in the industry. And so the idea to participate in Mansfield, it went down easy, so to speak. And I think, frankly, it's because it's a data-driven, objective metric that was easy for folks to understand why you would participate in it. And it's an enterprise-wide solution driven at concrete results. So for lawyers, there's, sort of easy to understand, not very amorphous. And it was actually an easier program to implement because you didn't have to sell anybody on it. And folks liked the corollary to the NFL, frankly. And it's been a joy because people are able to take ownership of it in pursuit of their own goals, right? You can break it down by department. So for example, the litigation department can understand that they need to do their own work to recruit diverse lateral partners, same way that our corporate department would, same way that our intellectual property department would. And then we're all working together towards the same objective end.
That's really a great insight. I mean, certainly it helps to have an enlightened management team, but sounds like you did a lot to help enlighten them. So thank you for your leadership and thank you for those great answers. Jason, I'm going to come to you and ask you to unmute and hear a little bit more about Empower. You guys certainly have taken on a much larger profile in Denver, and we're excited about that. I love many of the comments that you made in the video. One of the things we were talking about before is the impact that a business like yours can have on your female clients. And one of the things you told me that women are on track to replace just 59% of their income in retirement versus 71% for men. So with this sort of wealth gap that's out there, how do you guys go about trying to do something about that and this sort of theme of innovation?
Yeah, great question. And we actually recently, this week, we published a second white paper on the topic of financial inclusion. But the one that you referenced was a few years ago. And at the risk of sounding like I'm mansplaining to this amazing panel of women, I do want to talk about the context that women face, this retirement savings gap that you just kind of described. But I think of three things. I think, women get paid less. There's that pay equity gap. Women bear the brunt of raising children and taking care of loved ones. And women live longer, right? That last one is a great one. But when you combine all these things together, it does kind of creates a shortfall for women systemically when it comes to saving for retirement. And so, in fact, I think there was another survey a year ago that said that only 12% of women feel very confident that they'll be able to live comfortably in retirement. And that's just horrible, right? And so many of the panelists have already said in their videos, but we have to address that. We have to kind of take a leadership role in making sure that everyone is feeling confident about saving for retirement. And so some of the things that we've done, and I'll talk about one, is we offer specialized training or specialized planning seminars, retirement planning seminars for women, where we go over specific strategies and how to address this and take this head on so people can plan and be prepared and catch up when it comes to saving for retirement. Again, we're only going to succeed with our mission as an organization if we are proactively engaging in the causes and the issues of women. And so that's sort of why we implement strategies like that one.
One of the other things we talked about that I thought was so interesting is in your industry and my industry, we don't have a lot of people of color in leadership positions or women in leadership positions. And so when you're talking about dealing with these clients, it's important that their advisor looks like them, right? So what have you done to help try to diversify your workforce, and both for people of color as well as women?
So a great point. And in fact, in that white paper that I just referenced that came out yesterday, in fact, we see that people, I think it was about 72% of the national respondents said that, retirement savings planning is not created equal for everyone, or that, they feel like it's a luxury. And so and actually people do want to interact with people who look like them, who understand their experiences. And so that is something that we're hearing a lot more from people, right, through these surveys. And so one of the things we're super proud of, last year we hit a benchmark for the first time in our company's history of being 50% of our executive leadership team is women, right? And also overall in our company, the general population hovers around 50% in the United States, which compared to other financial service firms, I was looking at a report from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, similar industries in our field are hover around 30%. So for us, this is like a huge milestone. And I think part of working towards that is really listening. I think I mentioned this earlier in my video, listening to people, right? I think you got to listen, do the due diligence to listen to your clients, to your customers, to your people. And so we do that through employee engagement surveys, and want to know what people have to tell us. We have business resource groups. One of our biggest one is our Women's Empowerment Network, or WEN, that brings women together and allies together to talk about issues that face them, but also just to network and to develop professionally. And then we also have to be in the space and be in the habit of doing our best to update our policies, to have the best benefits, to make sure our job descriptions are written in a way that are attracting women and not just being exclusive to men. And so I think you just have to do that hard work just as much.
It really is a constant set of work initiatives, right? Because we all can get better, and it's wonderful to hear what you're saying. And I think many of our listeners are taking notes and figuring out how they can add to their company. So Gloria, I'm going to jump over to you. And congratulations on your new role with VF, and what a wonderful contribution already VF has made to Denver, not only bringing their headquarters here and this workforce, but all the dynamic companies that you deal with and the support you've given our community already. Sort of in the spirit of what I asked Jason, because you guys are in the outdoor industry, you've done some really interesting work as it relates to inequities that exist in outdoor spaces. And I think that's such an interesting concept. And tell us a little bit about what VF has done in programs like Women in Wilderness and other programs like that create more of a balance for people recreating.
Sure. Yeah, no, that's a great question, Bruce. And I just want to say it's incredibly inspiring to be surrounded by so many exceptional role models who are advancing this work in the workplace and in our communities. As one of the largest global apparel companies, we have a great responsibility to ensure we're leaving a positive imprint on the communities where our employees live and work and where we operate for the betterment of people and planet. And we do this across our company in partnership with our ERGs, our brands, as well as through our philanthropic foundation. And I have to just say, at the heart of all that work, it starts with a deep sense of purpose in creating an inclusive culture of allyship where everyone feels welcome, supported, and empowered, whether that's, within the office or within outdoor spaces. So, with an apparel company with outdoor brands like the North Face and Vans and Timberland and Smartwool, we want to ensure that the outdoors is open, accessible, and welcoming to all while fostering a love and appreciation for the outdoors. And the pandemic has had an enormous impact on people around the world. And I think it's been an important reminder of the powerful role that nature plays in our lives to keep us healthy, grounded and connected. And the pandemic has also just illuminated the inequities that exist in the outdoors for women and BIPOC communities. Over 100 million people across the US don't have close home access to green space and parks. And low-income BIPOC communities are 3 times more likely to live in nature-deprived spaces. So we know it's important to find creative ways with exceptional partners to reduce barriers to the outdoors. And so, we've been partnering with organizations like you mentioned, like Women in Wilderness here in Colorado to remove barriers to the outdoors and to invest in transformative programs for BIPOC immigrant and refugee girls as a pathway towards greater self-confidence and empowerment through outdoor exploration, and to ensure that they can thrive and become successful adults, and to inspire a next generation of outdoor stewards and conservationists. And we also know that women and people of color also have been historically underrepresented in the outdoor industry itself. And so we're partnering with higher ed institutions like Colorado Mesa University on the Western Slope to provide outdoor recreation industry scholarships that are based on gender, race, and financial needs. So those students can enter the outdoor recreation industry with the knowledge and skills needed for the industry to be more successful and more inclusive for all. I just want to mention too, our brands have been doing an exceptional job approaching this work to the outdoors with an inclusivity lens as well. You may have heard that the North Face brand, they recently made a $7 million commitment to diversifying the outdoors for exploration to create a more welcoming and equitable outdoor experience for all.
I just think that's so cool that a company like yours can touch not only their own workers, but so many people, so many women, and elevate them in a space like this at such an important time. I have to reference also one thing you mentioned in the video where you talked about having so many employees all over the world, and 85%, I think you said, of that staff are women, and many of them are in countries where poverty is an issue. And tell us a little bit what you do to elevate women of that broad an employee base, and how you go about investing in them. That's another great question. We believe, business can and should be making people's lives better, both inside and outside our company walls and across our value chain. So whether that's, in our corporate offices, retail, and in those apparel factories as well. And as you mentioned, and I know I mentioned this in the video too, this is incredibly important for us because, 51% of our employees are women, but then within, our apparel worker space around the world, 85% of those are women. And, we know when these workers feel safe and healthy and protected and supported, it leads to enhanced well-being and productivity. And we have nearly 1 million people in our supply chain, spanning 40 countries worldwide. And we know in a lot of those countries, they're lacking the laws, the regulations, the standards, the infrastructure that's needed to support safe and empowering work environments. So, we're working very closely just across all of these garment worker communities to address those local issues where we operate, and are focusing on issues that we know are incredibly important to them, from needs assessments that we've done and from listening and hearing them out in regards to access to water and sanitation, adequate health and nutrition, and providing affordable childcare and education, which is so vital for all of these women. And on the foundation side, we're really also stepping up to advance women's rights and empowerment and these systemic inequalities that continue to rise due to the pandemic. So the foundation recently joined forces with some international partners, including the UN Foundation, the women's empowerment NGOs and think tanks, and other apparel companies like Gap and the H&M Foundation to start working on innovative new ways of working in philanthropy that are trust-based and collaborative, and really pooling our funds together to have greater impact. So working with women-led, women-serving grassroots organizations in these countries are really where we can have the greatest difference in regards to building back with greater resiliency through this pandemic, and providing them with the resources that are going to help enable them and lift them and their children out of poverty. Well, what an incredible story. I don't think anybody really understands the scope and scale of VF and the impact that you can have on women all over the world is just a stunning story. So let's go from the really big to the really small. And Wendy, I'm going to come to you, and we're going to talk a little bit about STEM. I just think your vision for this organization and what you want to do for these young girls to get them into science and technology and engineering is so important. It's so important, as you said in the video, about where our economy is going. But one of the things you said I find is really interesting is that 1 in 4 STEM professionals are women, but almost all of them are in the sciences, and they're not in technology and engineering. And how do you get, well, 2 questions. 1, how do you get the kids really interested in that? And then how do you connect with those communities and have them part of solving this issue?
Thank you. Thank you, Bruce, for the question. And before I answer, I just want to echo the other panelists. This is such an honor to be here. Thank you to the Women's Chamber. And you all inspire me, which helps me continue to inspire. And Jason, you said expect nothing less. And I think this whole panel expects nothing less. So I just wanted to just quickly say that. But to answer your question, Bruce, the way we get kids interested is it's a collaborative effort. Across all aspects of the organization, and it's working with educators and going out and partnering with teachers and schools and those who are really excited about STEM and elevating the next generation of women as well, and partnering with them, and also partnering with the community and showing these girls women who look like them, women who are incredible role models within the community. So it's coming together as a community for the community, but it's really showing them the possibilities. So many of younger middle school and high school level girls, they don't necessarily know what it means to be a software engineer. What does it mean to be a biomedical engineer? What does it mean to do, research science to advance the medical industries? And so the way we get them excited is by introducing them to incredible women who are right here among them in their own community, who can inspire and have interactive conversations with them, who can show them what they're doing on a daily basis, provide a hands-on activity that helps them make that career connection, and just really opening up their eyes to all the different opportunities. There's such a variety. There is such an incredible amount of career opportunities and places to rise into across the entire STEM spectrum. So getting them excited is not necessarily a difficult thing. It's just introducing it to them and showing them the possibilities.
And then the business community, those who are listening today, what can they do to help? I mean, you've mentioned the idea of internships or apprenticeships. Is that part of what you do, and how can we all help in that space as well?
Yeah, that's a great question. So being able to, there's such an incredible community of corporations, different organizations that they understand the need to create a diverse workforce and a strong, diverse and innovative pipeline. So it's partnering, again, that collaborative effort. It's partnering. We can't do anything great on our own. We have to work together, and working with different companies who not only provide funding, but they also understand the importance of empowering their employees to come out and work with us and introduce themselves to the girls. So working with them on one-on-one through our chapter meetings, or providing a job shadow experience, pairing up students and professionals for mentorships. It's also inviting them in for a tour, like coming to do a field trip. That's always really exciting and makes an incredible long-lasting impression upon these students. But it's partnering, providing internships, anything that
an organization, a company can do now to get the next generation excited about what they're doing in technology, in science, in engineering. I mean, we're going to space real soon. There's so much there to be excited about. Anytime a company can get the next generation excited, plant the seed, they can really start to encourage them to work in that industry, to come to work for them someday. We have so many jobs that are going to be available, especially in technology, that industry specifically, anything computer science related. Those jobs are outpacing any other industry rapidly. And being able to get the next generation, especially of young women, women of color, to create this diverse, innovative pipeline and future workforce, that's what we should focus on. We have an incredibly, huge untapped talent pool that.
It's really exciting to hear you talk about that. I think you're inspiring everybody on the phone. I think if you're going to be the true inspirational leader, though, you ought to be one of those astronauts that goes to the moon to inspire some of your kids to go into aerospace and some of those other things. So thank you for those great comments. Maureen, let's go to you. HealthONE obviously is an incredible leader in the community. You've been an incredible leader in the community in a number of different roles. I think in the video you talked about the value of leadership in your organization, not only the 73% of your directors who are women, but that 34% of your C-suite are women as well. Tell us a little bit about that, and how did that happen? What did you do to invest in women to have such an incredibly strong representation in the leadership side?
Thank you, Bruce. And I also just want to quickly say thank you to Kristen Blessman for your comments about social innovation, and thank you to my fellow panelists who are really inspiring me. And I love the Mansfield Rule and so many things that I want to take back and chat about, because this is really thrilling. So thank you. And thank you, Bruce. We go back a ways, so it's great to see you. So ultimately, really, it all goes back to our mission. So we have this very heady mission, which is about caring for and improving human life. And it's a mission that makes a big difference. So how do you achieve that? You achieve it by investing in your people. And healthcare, of course, has always been a really female-heavy industry because it's about caregiving. But what's special about HCA Healthcare and HealthONE is that it isn't just the frontline people that are heavy in the women. It's that 34% of the C-suite. It's the fact that our CEO, Sylvia, has been with the company for decades and has risen up through the ranks, and she's not the only one. How does this happen? It happens by investing in clinical education. We train over 750 people a year in clinical rotations and administrative residencies. And so that gives our people a chance to teach as well as to learn, right? It happens through internationally renowned leadership development programming that's made available to our employees, not just women, but to all of our employees. And then it's things that may seem smaller that are so important in the moment. So if you think about COVID, and at the very beginning, when we knew so little, and there was so much fear, and people didn't know how the disease was spread, things like that. So we had these nurses who were taking care of COVID patients every day. Well, we offered them hotel stays so that they didn't have to go home to their families if they didn't choose to do that. We offered them groceries. We offered them scrub laundering. We didn't lay anybody off during the pandemic, which is incredibly rare for a healthcare system. We offered what's called pandemic pay. So, for example, when they closed down, the laws had us close down the ambulatory surgery centers for a period of time. Well, those people weren't out of a job. They got 70% of their pay. And then the job was waiting for them when the ambulatory surgery centers and the freestanding ERs and so on were reopened. And so it's that idea of the respect for what the person brings to the workplace and investing in what they bring so that ultimately we can achieve the quality outcomes that we are achieving in our healthcare.
You know, it's really a great story, and it's no wonder you won the mission-minded category, because everything about your mission is just so powerful. I'm going to just throw you a curveball here. I think knowing you and knowing Sylvia, you two are really role models, and I'm sure are a big part of the culture of your organization. Can you give us a little bit of an insight of the import of a role model in an organization like yours?
You know, I think that one of the things about working in healthcare is that it's very in the moment. It matters a lot. Quality matters, communication matters, delivery matters. And people have to trust each other in order to achieve outcomes. And so developing a culture where patients are first, and where people truly trust each other. Honestly, Bruce, I've never worked any place where there are so few egos. It's just not the culture here. The culture here is about let's heal people.
Yeah.
And it's not about who did it and who gets the credit. And I think that's a really big part of a really strong culture where we are unlocking possibilities. And then I think the other thing is thinking about access, and we're talking about access to care, we're talking about access to education, we're talking about access to jobs, and the notion of diversifying our people, our vendors, our boards of directors, our community advisory boards at each and every one of our hospitals, our community partners, and then drilling down into those community partners are places like Emily Griffith and Denver Scholarship Foundation and Colorado Community College. We're giving scholarships so that we can feed that workforce pipeline and bring in new faces, new ideas, and new perspectives into our workforce. So that's a big part of the culture, I think.
Yeah, I think it's so cool. And you mentioned trust, and I think that is so key. And if you look at the impact women can have on building culture and building trust in an organization, it's so powerful. And clearly that's true at yours. So speaking of incredible role models, Cleo, I'm going to come to you so you can unmute. I think Cleo is probably the quintessential role model for the city of Denver, and we're all inspired by you and what you've done in the arts and how important the arts are to our community. You've professed that forever. You lived it forever, and I don't know anybody that walks the talk like you do. But I think one of the really interesting things about you is you created this organization that's been there for 50 years, and it really was the arts were, especially in dance, were a male-dominated institution when all this started, and you really were one of the first women that struck out on her own and created such an incredible organization. Tell us about how that happened and what it was like to venture into that space.
Bruce, this is exciting. First of all, thank you. This is a great honor. And to be with these women that many of them I know, and I just feel so honored. And Jason, to hear you speak and to be the male advocate out there is really wonderful, because that's how we began, with extraordinary support. But I feel very fortunate. When we think about privilege, we talk about all kinds of white privilege and this kind of privilege. You know, I was born in Denver and I grew up right here in Five Points. And, I grew up at a time of Jim Crow laws. And so when people understand the time that I grew up in, and I've seen this kind of change, what was wonderful is to see that my parents were really a part of that change. And so I think it started really with them being the role models for me. My mother being white and my father Black, during the time that Black and white people of color could not marry white at all. So they had to go to 5 different states to get married. So one of the things I learned was you have to be persistent and you have to have tremendous faith and a lot of love. And I think really growing up in that kind of environment was an environment I wanted to create. wanted to create a village around all of us. And I found I wanted to thank Maureen and to see her there. I wanted to be a doctor. That's what my father wanted to be. I figured, I grew up around lots of young people who had fathers and mothers that were doctors and lawyers. And my father was a maintenance man. And there was really no dignity in that. But like Dr. King, he brought tremendous dignity to everyone who came in the door. And at that time, people of color could not come in the front door. And so to know that we not only come in the front door, but we can create our own spaces where everyone can come in. And so that I think was really a blessing. It was a struggle, but it was a blessing. And so I think I was born into change, and people who were around us that when they were told no, they would bring 2 or 3 other people and say, why not? And
I think it's, sorry to interrupt.
Change, make change happen.
I just think, what a spiritual story about how you got this started and how that perspective really inspired you to do what you did. You also mentioned, though, that along the way, you had male allies who really helped you create this business. You didn't just do it by yourself, but you had male allies that really helped you along. Tell us a little bit more about that.
Well, I really did. I had a boyfriend very young. I don't want to encourage the girls to have one, but I was blessed with one very young. And he was very special in the sense that he encouraged me to take risks and to follow my dream. And my dream was to dance, but mostly to bring people together. And so it started really with my father, who was a great advocate of women's rights. And he talked about the rights that women needed to demand. They needed to ask for higher pay and positions that would give them dignity. But he didn't want me to be an artist. He thought, no, art will not give you the dignity that you want. And so I had to prove that being an artist, I could survive, I could make a living, and I could create a space where we were honored. And that was important. So he became a great fan of mine, my father, and he became a director. He created a whole women's technical team that I took around the world in all over the world. But this is one of my greatest fans. It's my father first, my husband, and then my son. But I had people like Les Franklin out of IBM. I had Ray Jones, who was an attorney, Home Robertson Owens. And so I always had really bright attorneys around me. The attorneys were important and business people were. And they said, Cleo, you have to create a space where people respect art and they respect culture. And so they were not dancers, although I did make sure they danced. Ray Jones talks about going to CC and having to put on some green tights of some sort. And I could never imagine this, but he became a wonderful judge. But
I need to interrupt you because we're getting to the end of our time. I just think what you've said there is just so powerful, and the fact that all of those people inspired you, and now you inspire all of us in Denver with the incredible performances that you and your team put on. And you're right, your son is another one of those folks that's going to make a real difference. So thank you, Cleo, so much, and thank you for your personal inspiration. So Sarah, the individual winner gets to close this out, and so we can't wait to hear from you. I think what you've done in your industry is so interesting, and you, a little bit like Jason, are in a white male-dominated industry, and I think it's so important to figure out how do you provide leadership in that space. So tell us a little bit about how you did that, and maybe not so much what you did, but how you did it, and the courage it took to do, and the political awareness it took for you to become successful and have such an impact and be this award winner.
Well, thank you, Bruce. And man, it's a hard deal to follow Cleo. Big fangirl over here of Cleo's. But to your question, I think it's interesting to go back and really think about how it all happened, and what were the tactics really to get to all the initiatives that we've tried, and some of the ones that we failed at and some of the ones that we did well. And I think really what as I was considering how this all came about was there was always the curiosity of how do we continue to elevate women? If that is the fundamental issue, then how do we continue to work on it? And a few things that I've had to learn along the way is, number one, that this is going to be trial and error, and then trial and error, and then trial and error. We're going to try something and it's not going to work, and then we're going to go a different avenue and see if that works. And if it doesn't, we're going to try again. But the mission is still, how do we continue to elevate women to do better, to be more successful, and so that we can mirror the community that we serve. Jason said it really well of, there's a lot of people out there that want to work with people that are like them and that they can connect with on a different level. And I really, truly believe that, 13 years of doing financial planning, that I've noticed that women love to work with women, and that there is a need there, and there's a disconnect between what is actually out there and available, and the advice and the guidance and the tactics that they need. And so if we kind of stick to the goal of, we need to elevate women, we need to make them successful, how do we do it? Then we've got to figure out all these different ways to engage women and to continue to work with them so that they're continuing to push and strive. And so the part of it was understanding how women work. And it's funny because you'd think that I know this as a woman, but I didn't. I had to learn from other women. I had to learn from mothers. I'm not a mother, and so I had to understand what this world was like for mothers, and I had to learn what this world was like for Black women, and I had to learn what this world was like for young women and older women. And so what I thought was the common thread here is that women thrive in community, and the community aspect of it is really the glue. And that is what I have really worked hard to try to create in our organization locally, but also on a national level, is to, how do we bring these women together so that they do life together? I mean, I've got women that I talk to every single day. We talk on Marco Polo now because we can't talk live, but in person, but we do life together, and that's what women do. And so I think that understanding helped us to continue to create bigger and better programs that helps take, okay, this one was good, and how do we take it here? And this one was good with just motivation, but how do we do tactics better? And so it's a journey. And one of my favorite leaders in diversity and inclusion, she told me one time that diversity and inclusion is raggedy. It is not for the type A, and I am very type A. And it's hard to find the end point of, we will feel more successful when, here's the metric, here's the number. And because we can't really hit a number, we have to continue to work on how we build community, how we create successful environments for women to thrive in. And so I don't think it's over yet, Bruce, to answer your question. I think we're still working on it, but that's been sort of the legacy that I want to leave for other women who want to do financial planning and work in this great world of helping other people and other women, and specifically. So that's a little bit of my how, but it's going to be different for every person who's going to try it.
Well, I think it's wonderful what you said, and it's so interesting that there's a parallel between what Allie's doing, Jason's doing, and you're doing in the industries that you're in. And your point about women want to do business with women, all the things you're doing to elevate women in your company is wonderful, but you're really adding tremendous value to your business, right? Because it's going to open up an incredible market. So last question of the night to you. If you had to give a piece of advice to other women that are coming along that caused you to be so successful, what one piece of advice would you give them? I have
so many, but the biggest one I think is don't quit. We are a persistent bunch. If you haven't learned that from all of the wonderful people on this panel tonight and that are involved with the Women's Chamber, and the persistency is really what matters, because you can come in and knock it out of the park once, but we got to do this over and over again, and we've got to do this for decades to come. And so I think if we can set a goal and continue whatever that means for whatever woman is coming into whatever she's coming into, is we've got to be women who persevere and who have, this kind of stick-to-itness that we've got to make in order to really make an impact. And so I think that's going to look different for many different women in this world. But yeah, we've got to keep fighting the fight. And I know that especially in a year like 2020, that diversity inclusion fatigue is a real thing. And people get very burnt out of fighting the fight. But I just so believe in the potential that women have in business and in their finances and in philanthropy. And so I really would tell all women, forget the plan B, keep going with plan A, and just work around all of the obstacles that are going to inevitably, get in the way.
That's wonderful and powerful advice on which to end tonight. Keep fighting the fight. So that's great. Thanks to all of you on the panel. You were all brilliant, inspiring, thoughtful, connected, caring. It's why the Colorado Women's Chamber is so special, and you guys certainly deserve all these incredible awards. So thank you all very much. And Michaela, back to you.
And Bruce, thank you.
Thank you all. And you know what, as my first time attending this event, I have to say, I'm getting a little teary. It's very inspiring. It's incredibly inspiring. You are all incredible and lovely and powerful. And I know that we are all going through it right now. We are going through some really difficult times and trying to find some normalcy going forward. And it's inspiring to know that there are women and men who are, putting in so much work to make sure that the community is bettered by all of this, and inspire, a generation of young women. There's nothing like being a little girl and being able to see someone who looks like you and say, I can do that too, So thank you all for sharing. Again, getting teary here. You are all really demonstrating that, and I'm honored to meet you all. So that marks the end of the Colorado Women's Chamber of Commerce 3rd Annual Champions of Change Awards event. Thank you all for such a fabulous evening. I know I've learned a lot, and will continue to keep my eyes on them and how they continue to be advocates for women. Thanks again to our sponsors. We've got Vectra Bank, Brownstein, Hyatt, Farber, Schreck, DaVita, and One Floor Up. Thank you to the CWCC Board of Directors, members, and to everybody who tuned in tonight. Please do share your takeaways on social media at CO Women's Chamber. Look forward to seeing those. I'm Michaela White with CBS4. It's been a pleasure being your MC this morning and this evening. I work mornings. Have a wonderful evening.
This was really fun.